got your brother right, believe it or not. Okay, we got Arrow.
He's in his box, ain't he? Oh, big.
Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a little bit since my last video. It's just been busy, piddling around the house, hanging out with the wife, just, living life. But I wanted to do a recap of the recent BFL that I fished in. If you didn't watch my previous video, I put together a little prep video for my first Bass Fishing League tournament going out of Old Hickory Lake. We launched from Flippers, which is down around in north of Nashville in Tennessee. And so this tournament took place on June 19th. And I just wanted to provide a recap of my first BFL tournament and some of the things that I learned and some things that you can kind of be on the lookout for. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm gonna be doing a lot of B-roll, which means I'm gonna be putting a lot of clips on my boater, catching and releasing fish. That way you don't have to see me while I'm talking this whole time. There were 132 co-anglers participating in this event. I participated as a co-angler since I don't have a boat that I don't feel like I can compete at that level. So out of 132 co-anglers, first place had 12 pounds 2 ounces. Second place had 10 pounds 7 ounces, along with third place. Now, I was able to catch one fish, or actually I caught more fish, but I was able to weigh one fish that weighed just a little over a pound. Arrow had a similar luck as I did. He was also to be able to weigh in one fish.
Good to see y'all fishing with us, man. Our first official MLF Big 5 weigh-ins with us. God bless. Welcome to the family. We got one cracking the scales at a pound and 10 ounces, man. Woo.
He lost 2 fish early on and wasn't able to get in the boat. I was able to catch a few fish that just wasn't long enough, which I'll talk a little bit about here in a little bit. So out of 132 people, 36 people didn't get to weigh in a fish at all. And so I not only caught one fish, but at least I was able to weigh in a fish and didn't finish dead last. It was a great learning experience. The one fish that I did catch was on a lure that I don't normally fish, which is a little 3-inch Largo shad. I just had it on a little heavier jig head. Threw it out there. We're fishing about 15 foot of water, kind of counted down about 15 seconds, slowly reeling the lure in, and was able to catch that bass on that slow retrieve. Some things that I learned: it's a long day. So even though the tournament itself didn't launch until 5:30, I wanted to get to the boat ramp an hour ahead, so which had been 4:30. And the reason I wanted to get there an hour ahead is just wanted to sync up with my boater prior, make sure I gave myself plenty of time to get to the boat ramp, get ready, situated, find him, get in the boat so that we can launch at 5:30. And so we got there at 4:30, which meant I had to leave the house at 3:30. To leave the house at 3:30 meant I had to get up around 2:30. I wanted to give myself plenty of time to kind of go through the morning motions, drink coffee. I didn't want to get rushed. And so I had my alarm set at 2:30 on a Saturday. So for me to get up at 2:30, I wanted to make sure I had plenty of rest, which meant I had to go to bed pretty early on that Friday night. And so we kind of relaxed, took it easy, got our tackle ready, but I tried to get in bed around 9 o'clock so that I can easily wake up at 2:30. And so we launched at 5:30. I think we fished till 1:30. So by the time you get done fishing, you have to weigh in, and depending where you're at and how big the field is, it takes a while to go through that whole process. And so by the time we left the boat ramp, even though we finished at 1:30, it was probably 3 o'clock by the time we got out there. I finished about, halfway middle of the pack. Arrow didn't come in until a little bit later in the day. So I had to wait for him, get him to weigh in his fish, and then just the traffic get out of the boat ramp was ridiculous. As you can imagine, we had around 132 people out there. And so just trying to navigate around the parking lot with all those trucks and trailers can be a little time consuming. And so finished up, got out of the boat ramp around 3:30, drove back home, had dinner. And so I left the house at 2:30. I probably didn't get home until 6 p.m. that night, which is a super long day, especially when it's hot outside. This tournament took place at the end of middle of June, which in Nashville is about 90 degrees. We're known for our humidity, and it's super hot. It was a long day. The sun was out. Lots of folks on the water. Another thing that I learned is that, sitting on the back of the boat, I got to watch my boater and see the areas that he fished, because I was trying to pay attention to where he fished, so I would kind of fish somewhere similar. Didn't want to be pitching to the same spot. Is casting accuracy is super important. We started off the morning throwing some top water, which meant we fished around grass and docks. And it was really neat watching my boater, make the super accurate cast, pitching between boat docks and under pontoons, and just hit all these little points. He was super accurate in his cast, and I realized that I needed to step up my game. He was also great at pitching and flipping. That's another technique that we did for a few hours. And he was able to pitch and flip to his spots, didn't have much backlash. And when I tried to do the same thing with my lures, I was able to do it most of the time, but I couldn't really hit the spots that I wanted to hit all the time. And I noticed I spent a lot of times just working the backlash out of my reel. I mean, it didn't bird's nest or anything, but I did have a few little line tangles up every now and then. Another thing that I learned is that just because you catch fish doesn't mean that you're doing well in the tournament. In the tournament, the fish had to be at least 14 inches for you to weigh in. And my boater was able to catch a ton of fish. They just wasn't long enough. A lot of the fish that he caught seemed like it was around 13 and a half or 13 3/4. Again, they had to be 14 inches to weigh it in. And so it was interesting watching him catch all these fish. They just wasn't big enough and just had to throw them back. I was able to catch a few fish also. It seemed like for every 7 fish that he caught, I was able to catch 1. And so I'm not sure exactly what he was doing that was so different than I was doing. Is that I tried to fish something similar, but not the exact same thing that he was doing, but he was able to get a lot more fish in the boat. Another thing that I learned is that I really got to get used to throwing the Carolina rig. In the summertime, we fished a lot of main lake points, and to fish those main lake points, it seemed like the best way to cover water is throwing that Carolina rig. And that's just something I don't do a whole lot, so I don't have a whole lot of confidence in. And so I think I just need to get used to throwing that technique a lot more, as it seems like that's the way to go for summertime, and you want to keep that bait on the ground in that lower water column. So to summarize, fishing in my BFL, these are the things I learned. It's a long day. Woke up at 2:30, didn't get home till 6 p.m. It's important to be able to really have your techniques down, casting accuracy, know how to pitch, know how to flip without getting backlashes, know how to skip and get that lure underneath trees, under boat docks, under pontoons, under cover. Just know how to do that well. Just because you catch fish doesn't mean you're gonna do well. So if you're catching a bunch of small ones that are not long enough, then you need to probably go to a different location so that you can find those better quality fish, so that you can weigh in those fish. Again, at Old Hickory, in June, they had to be 14 inches. And lastly, get used to throwing the Carolina rig. I need to be able to chug that bait out there, drag it on the bottom, and find those fish. And hopefully they're long enough and heavy enough so that I can have a decent weigh-in for the next tournament. So that was the 4th event out of the Music City division. I think there's one more event, and it's actually a 2-day event. And so I'm gonna give this tournament fishing one more try and see if I enjoy it. And the first experience that I had was great. I learned a lot, and the boater was great. I just don't know if tournament fishing is for me. Like I said, it's a lot of work trying to prep your gear, get ready for that tournament, fish the tournament, and then, going through your gear afterwards. And it seemed like it was a lot more stressful than it should have been. With bass fishing, I want to catch fish, and I enjoy and I love the technique and the strategy around it. But it seems like when I'm fishing with my brother, it's more like strategy and leisure, and we can kind of go at our own pace. With the tournament, you can only catch, you're fishing within a certain amount of hours, trying to catch a certain size fish. And, we're running from points to point. And so, I didn't want to be an inconvenience to my boater. And so when he said, hey, let's pick up, go to the next spot. If I had a lure out there, I reeled the thing, I brought that lure in as fast as I could, put my life jacket on, set my butt in the boat, and try to do that as quick as I can so that I wouldn't be an inconvenience. I didn't want to be in his way. And so I know it's a small thing, but it's just stressful, you know. Like I feel like, you know, you're fishing with somebody else, and you don't want to slow them down. And so again, just not used to fishing that way. And so we'll give this thing another try. All right, that's all I got for today. If you have any comments, leave them below. If you got a question, feel free to reach out. I try to get back to them and answer them the best way that I can, as quickly as I can. And so thank you all. Hope you have a good rest of the day. I will talk to you later. Bye.